Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather.
I'm Levi.
And I meant to hook up my new microphones for the Q&A. Didn't. It'll be fine. We'll do things like we used to, and I'll just boost your answers when you don't speak loud enough. I'm the loud one, though. I'm the problem. So welcome back to our winter Q&A. We do our Q&As once a quarter, and we have a lot of questions. I think I pulled 19. I didn't pull all of them because there were some that were similar or kind of ran into or related to other questions, and so I think we can kill two birds with one stone with some of them.
Is your mini La Mancha goal to get up to the high F levels or just breeding for improvement and deciding as you go?
I would like to have an F6 out of my lines. Really, I don't plan on stopping goats in the near future or even far future. I want to keep goats even when I can't physically handle breeding them and kidding and whatever. I'd love to have them just out on pasture. And so yeah, I mean, I feel like F6 is within the realm of possibility, and it is on the goal list, although it's not like number one. Number one for me really is parasite resistance and really being easy keepers in general. That's really important to me. Easy keepers, easy milkers, easy homestead goats.
Have you ever hunted other big game than deer? I have not, and I don't really have any interest in, or it's not a goal or a dream of mine. It would be neat, but the prospect of traveling to hunt when it's literally in your backyard is just not appealing, isn't the right word, enticing to me.
Does wild hog count?
Wild hog is probably big game.
Yeah.
This past October, one of our neighbors got a couple pictures of a wild hog, 1,000 yards away from our house, give or take. So fairly close. And I loosely have plans to go bait for that and hunt that at some point.
And there's no season for that, right? You can just
right, they're a nuisance animal here.
I wondered if, because Chloe, she's intact, I wondered if she would possibly lure them in.
I have no idea.
I don't know how that works.
I do have intentions to go squirrel hunting. We tried this youth free season and it was unsuccessful, but we'll continue to try. Yeah, we saw, half a dozen or so, but squirrels on the agenda in the near future. Would you recommend a small greenhouse to a beginner, zone 3, or recommend growing without one first, even though it limits what can be grown in zone 3?
I don't think there is any kind of requirement that you have gardening experience in order to grow in a greenhouse. I don't see why you'd have to have gardening experience in order to have a greenhouse, I guess is another way I could word that. Get a greenhouse.
The only thing I can say is if they aren't sure that it's actually what they want to do, and is it worth spending the money on something you might not stick with.
In zone 3, yeah, it is. In our case, you can really get away without it. I really like it because I can block the wind, I can keep my treatments on the plants without having to retreat. But in a zone like zone 3 where it gets real cold, that's a serious season extender, and I feel like that could be very well worth it. I would say jump on in.
Do you still have armpit melon seeds? What are your plans for them this year?
So new people probably don't know what an armpit melon is. Armpit melon is a hybrid melon that we accidentally crossed here on our farm, and I've been trying to stabilize the seed. I've made some mistakes along the way because I'm not a seed breeder, and I do have original armpit seeds. They are labeled Kajari from 2020 because that's what I thought I was saving, and I saved it out of a Kajari melon. It had just crossed with a Charente melon, and when I have planted those seeds, I have gotten a wonderful hybrid that is absolutely delicious with the craziest umami tomato aftertaste. It's incredible. It's so crazy. I can taste it, but I know nobody else has been able to taste it. Can you taste it even though it's been a couple years?
No.
Oh man, I can't. But I do have the seed, and I plan on growing that on the lane this year.
All 4 of my Nigerian does tried to go out and deliver kids in the snow versus a warm, dry barn. Is there any reason for this that I'm missing? Thankfully, I was watching them on a monitor.
They try to separate themselves from the herd. So if the herd is out of the barn, they'll go in the barn. And if the herd is all in the barn, they'll go out of the barn. So I don't think it's a you thing, I just think it's a goat thing. That's one of the ways that you know that your doe is in labor, when she secludes herself. And she'll do that any way she can. So out in the snow is not smart. I have seen it before. but I don't think it's not something that you're doing. But if you're concerned, which I would be, if we were kidding and it was snowing, I would put her in a kidding stall if you have the ability to put one up, even with like pallets or something, or to like lock them in the barn. But sometimes that can be hard too, because they can get to rough housing. So getting her in her own space when you notice she's in labor would be good. When my does are within a week of labor, I am obsessively checking their ligaments. And if I notice any kind of softening, especially before bed, I'll put them in a stall just in case.
Have you ever tried dusting your goat food with diatomaceous earth food grade for worms? It worked for mine. I never had a problem with worms, and the goats ate it without a problem. I live in Central Florida, for reference.
So that we have a breeder close to here, and they do that. They have Kiko goats. And the only reason that I'm hesitant is goats are very sensitive with their respiratory system. And when anybody breathes in diatomaceous earth, it can do damage to your lungs. And I wouldn't want to cause that. So I don't actively use diatomaceous earth as a dewormer right now. Could I change my mind in the future? Yes, but as of right now, it's not something that I'm really considering.
Some channels seem to assist their goats' labor almost every time. One in particular recently mentioned that Nigerian dwarfs seem to always be in a bad position in the birth canal, and that's just how it goes for the breed. I'm wondering how true that is in general, or if it's just true of her experience. Would a different breed truly be better or safer in terms of birthing?
The only reason that a Nigerian dwarf would be difficult in kidding is if they needed help. Nigerians are known for having more babies, and sometimes when the more babies there are, the harder it is for them to get in position. But really, a well-bred doe with the width and the depth should be able to carry them fine. It should be able to pass them fine. And it also kind of depends on what people are considering as assistance. When I am in the kidding stall, very often you'll see me providing like counter tension essentially, so that the doe's efforts have the most oomph. So she doesn't backslide, if that makes sense, in getting the baby out as quickly as possible so she's not exhausted. That's not expressly necessary. But to physically go in a doe and having to rearrange kids really should not be in every kidding thing, that's for sure. And if somebody's experiencing that, either they may be kind of jumping the gun, which I have been known to do myself, or yeah, there might be, especially, and I'm not trying to knock my show breeders, but I could see especially a show breeder maybe not considering that kidding difficulty being a real big issue when the doe has really great show qualities. They might kind of overlook that in favor of the show qualities. So consider who you're watching and who you're getting your information from and how their situation might differ from yours. And when you're buying goats, if kidding complications and making sure that the line doesn't have issues is important to you, make sure you ask about that. Bigger does do have problems. I have had some amazing rearrangements in does, big ones, the standards, and I will say that it is a lot easier to help a large doe if she needs it, just because she's bigger. Her pelvis is a lot bigger. With the little ones, if you have to go in there, it's hard to manipulate the kid, hold the kid, and get the kid and your hand out at the same time. It's not so hard with a larger doe. But in general, they should be able to kid themselves well, 95% of the time. It's finally cooling down enough to drink.
What plans or goals do either of you have for 2026? They don't have to be big, they can be small and simple. So I told our older daughter, our 12-year-old, that I'm going to purpose to get out and do more target shooting this year, largely because she wants to go hunting with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not confident with their capabilities and like proficiency yet, so I want to get them out shooting more, but I need to shoot more. I haven't gone out, I don't know twice this past year. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a much more common thing, so I need to get out shooting more often. And a personal goal, I started a little early, I got a jump on it, but my goal this year is to read the Bible from Genesis all the way through Revelation before the end of the year, or by the end of the year, which is it about 4 or 5 chapters a day, because I do sleep in on Saturdays a little bit, so I don't get up early and read then. So it's 6 days a week. So I've got to read about 4 or 5 chapters a day to make that
I
happen.
didn't know that. That's
My
cool.
goal.
Well, a goal that, oh, there goes my cheese. We can flip that at the end. A goal that we have, I guess, together is to put much more than we have been onto our mortgage.
Yeah.
To pay the farm off as quickly as possible. If we really buckle down, we can pay it off by 2031.
Yeah.
Which is really close. And if we just put a little here and a little there, we can pay it off by 2038, which still feels pretty close. And so it's very exciting. Our mortgage was pretty small to begin with. We bought the farm in 2019 before prices really went up.
Crazy, yeah.
And so we are blessed for that, but we really want to pay that down because before we can build our house, which is a plan. It's a distant plan, but it's feeling closer and closer as the years go by. We have to pay this off first. Few reasons, but the deed to the property at this point in time is a problem, and we can't redeed it without refinancing it, and we can't refinance it at a good rate. And the banks, like, they don't want to own a double wide mobile home. This loan has been resold in packages of loans at least once, but maybe twice since we've had it, and it hasn't been super long. And so no one wants to refinance on a mobile home that's 30 years old. So
Unless
I don't
we
blame
could
them.
Potentially get a building loan that would cover it.
This doesn't count as collateral. That's the thing.
The property would have to, yeah.
Yeah, and to divide it up, it has to be paid off. That's the problem. Once it's paid off, we have a lot more control over that kind of thing. And so that does tie into another question that I didn't expressly put in here, but like, what are your home building plans? He's been working on the plan, and we're really excited, but it still could be, 10 years-ish away.
10, 15, yeah.
Hopefully not 15.
Hopefully
We're
not.
getting old.
I plan to do kid sharing with my does when they kid in a couple weeks. Is that something you have experience with? If so, when you take them at night, do they need to be given a bottle the next morning before being put back with their mama, or do you have any suggestions on how I can make that work? Thanks for any advice.
I have done this. I have gotten away from doing a full kid share, mostly because I have 2 kidding seasons at the moment and they overlap. So usually I've got somebody in milk from the prior season, and so I don't expressly need like all of that milk while the babies are still on. Usually I can wait until they're 8 weeks and just pull them off. But in your case, yeah, you'll separate the babies at night. They'll have a 12-hour separation. And I never gave bottles to the baby prior to giving their mom back. A lot of moms will hold milk back for their babies, especially when the kid share first starts. Because it can be a little bit of a struggle. It's a change for the mom, especially a first freshener. They're not used to the whole routine, and she's going to hold back for the baby. A lot of times you can feel that, where she's just not letting down all of her milk. She's saving that for baby. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. When they're old enough to kid share, their rumen should be working, so they should be getting hay. And if you're going to feed grain, a little bit of grain overnight with, of course, some fresh water, and that will get them through.
Curious if you plan to add brambles to your goat areas for added nutrition.
There are brambles back there. There's wild blackberry by the pond in quite a few spots, and the goats pick at it, but my goats graze. And I know people say goats don't graze. Maybe your goats don't graze, but that's really the option that my goats have. Most of it is graze out there that they have to eat. And they do eat the brambles. I don't plan on putting more. Honestly, it sounds like a little bit of a nightmare. Sometimes they lose their kids out at the pond. And can you imagine if they've lost a baby and the baby has crawled in a huge bramble, trying to get that baby out of the brambles?
It would not be
because
fun.
I wanted them to have food. Like, if I'm going to plant a food out there for them, I don't think brambles would be the choice, because it just seems like it would be more headache than it was worth.
Yeah.
So, but I don't plan on really doing any more planting out there, at least right now. I do, and I forgot to mention this before on the goals thing, I do want to do a soil test of different areas of our pasture to really see what our pastures need. Our pastures, without us doing anything besides mowing every once in a while and having the goats out on them, have really, really improved. I did plant ryegrass last year and it did go to seed. I think some of it is coming back, but it's not coming back a lot. It wasn't supposed to. It was an annual ryegrass that I planted, but yeah, besides that, I don't really plan on doing too much out there.
What do you feed your dairy goats and how much? What are your thoughts on feeding corn?
You could feed corn. My mentor feeds, I think it's Purina goat, something, I don't know, it's got corn in it. I've gotten samples of it before. You just want to make sure that whatever you're feeding your goats, also considering your water in this, it be a 2-to-1 calcium to phosphorus ratio. Productive does can get away with a little bit more calcium. When they are bred, they're growing babies. Those babies need to grow a skeleton and their bodies need the calcium in order to go into labor and to come into milk well. But bucks and wethers really, really do need to stick to that 2-to-1 calcium to phosphorus ratio, and sometimes corn is too high on the phosphorus. So what I feed my animals right now, as far as grain goes, is a Combach milk maker. It's a 17% protein feed, and it does have that calcium to phosphorus balance as well as ammonium chloride. And why that balance is important and why the ammonium chloride is important is because they can get urinary calculi from grain, and that's a disaster. We have dealt with that before, and it's a very heartbreaking situation. It's a lot of suffering for the animal before they die, and you don't want that. The corn isn't worth it. I promise. Cheap feed is not worth it. I promise. If that's what you can afford, fine, figure out another way to balance out their diet. But that's what we feed. I feed a free choice alfalfa pellet too to my does, and right now everybody gets orchard grass hay because our grass isn't growing.
Nope.
Now, how much do I feed? Feed what's on the bag. That's what I would suggest. Whatever the bag says for your animals, feed that, because every feed is different, and really each goat's needs are different too. You gotta watch your animals.
How much grain do you give your goats and milk with kids? I also do the free choice alfalfa or Timothy pellets. My doe seems to be losing weight. We are kid sharing also.
So when a doe is losing weight, even though she's eating well, you want to think of a couple things. The first thing I would think of is parasites, because the worms, they don't all take the blood out of the goat. A lot of people look for the FAMACHA score for the anemia, and that's good because there are parasites that take their blood. There are also parasites that take their proteins, so they could FAMACHA really well and still have a very heavy parasite load. So you're going to want to do a fecal of the doe and make sure she's not dealing with parasites. If she is, deal with that and your problem is probably going to be resolved. If she's not dealing with parasites and she's really thin, she could just need more grain. My bag of grain, like I said, I feed. It says on the bag, 3 pounds of feed. Is it that? No, it's 1 pound of feed per 3 pounds of milk produced. And a pint is a pound. So if she's milking 3 pints, which is a little bit less than a half gallon each day, then you will give her 1 pound of feed. You'd have to weigh it. So a pound of milk doesn't weigh the same as a pint of grain because liquid is not the same. You have to measure it. You have to like physically weigh that out. And I supplement my goats if I need to with a rice bran pellet feed. We get that from Tractor Supply. You can also get it on Chewy, and that is a great high calorie supplement for them. You do not give them very much at all. A standard doe can have a 1/4 cup a day while she's being milked, and it is very quick that they gain weight on that, as long as they're not dealing with parasite issues or other kinds of sickness.
How much electricity do you use monthly?
See, I never look at the kilowatt hours or anything. And like, I was gonna just tell you the price because that doesn't really mean much.
Help any,
I don't think, but I don't look at that. Maybe I should, but I don't think that it would really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
That's why I don't look at it. But if anyone's curious, it ranges as far as price anywhere between $180 and $330 a month. And the $330 is in the middle of summer when we're in a heat wave. Yeah. And it's all because of our air conditioner, because we live in a cardboard box.
Yep. Is there any animal that you would like to have on your homestead that you haven't yet had?
Yes. What do you think it is?
What do I think that you want? Donkey.
No. I did want a donkey for the longest time, but then I learned how they're almost needy like a dog, and I don't know that I'm ready for that. I could be ready for that in the future, but I would rather have, like if I was going to have a livestock guardian like that, I'd have something like an alpaca or a llama that I could shear. However, they are very sensitive to the meningeal worm, the brainworm, and we have had that pop up on our farm. If you've got slugs and snails and a deer population, you have to worry about meningeal worm. I don't know if the deer have hopped over the fence in a while, but they might have. So
I haven't seen it in a long time.
yeah, it makes me nervous because those animals are very susceptible to that. So knowing that, I don't know if I really should, but a fiber animal in general, whether it be an Angora goat, some kind of sheep, even those, I think they're also called Angora rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
There's fiber rabbits. But I feel like I have to be in a different like stage of life. Maybe my kids are a lot more independent before I have a fiber animal, because that's like next level kind of type of care that I don't feel like I can provide right now.
The only animal that I would like to have is one that we have had in the past.
Turkeys?
I enjoyed listening to the turkeys.
We're getting them. I ordered them. They're coming in April, honey. We getting it. I ordered 3 turkeys, 3 ducks, and 15 chickens. So it's not like a huge bunch of birds. I don't really like raising birds, but I like what they produce for us. So we're gonna raise turkeys again, because that was fun. They just eat a ton.
Yeah.
So when they're ready to process, we'll be processing them whether or not it is Thanksgiving.
They can sit in the freezer for a little
Yeah,
while.
they can.
Have you looked into herbalism to treat worms and pests in your goats?
I have. And I have done a few things. My problem is a lot of the herbal remedies need you to be very attentive in being able to remember to give it at certain intervals for a lengthier time frame, and I am not good at that. And so I've tried things and I have kind of failed my animals in trying those things. So I've just gone back to what is simpler for me, and when I can kind of master that and get like a grip on other things, I think that maybe I could have the headspace to manage something like that. But really I've been focusing on not necessarily natural remedies, but a natural parasite resistance in my breeding program, because I think that you could throw all the dewormers, natural or otherwise, that you want at a horribly bred animal, and it's not going to do anything. So you really need to start with good stock. It's not necessarily all about the management. You really want your animals to be working for you first.
Had you eaten goat or rabbit before getting your homestead? Shaika was very young, but how did the older kids react at first to eating the animals you raised?
This is a funny story. Well,
So
first of all,
I'll start with the first question.
Yeah.
I had what's it called? Curried goat at a Caribbean place in Colorado before we lived here. But it was curried, so it could have been just about any other animal, and it probably would have tasted about the same. So I didn't really know whether or not I liked goat, I guess, if that makes sense. I had tried rabbit once. There was a guy also in Colorado that went out hunting and got some rabbits and brought some back in a crock pot. But it was sort of similar. He could have told me it was shredded chicken and I wouldn't have known, because there was just so much other stuff in with it. It was like a stew sort of a thing.
That's actually kind of common for both meats. We've gotten a little bit away from slathering everything in like gravy and liquids when we cook it, and that's nice. You can really taste the meat. We actually had goat tonight, and one of our kids said, "It's like deer pork."
Yep, tastes like deer pig.
Deer pig. That's it. You know what? It does. That's a good description. So now, how did they react to eating the animals on our farm?
So I only remember how one of them reacted.
Yeah, because they all did well except for one.
And she refused to eat the rabbit for the longest time. And then Heather made chicken and dumplings with rabbit, and she ate that. No one said anything. She didn't see it being prepared. She ate it.
Loved
and
it.
It was great. And then a week later, maybe, Heather made chicken pot pie. Loved it. She loved it. It was great. We had leftovers. I came home for lunch one day, and I was sitting here eating the leftover chicken pot pie, which really, I had heated up the whole leftovers container. It was like
chicken pot pie. It was rabbit.
Yeah, rabbit pot pie. It was like two solid servings worth. So it was more than I was gonna eat, realistically. But as I'm sitting here eating, Molly's sitting here next to me. What was she, 5 at the time? 6?
She might have been younger. I don't know. Yeah, 5.
Little bitty. And she said, "Daddy, can I have some too?" So I was just sitting here feeding her, and I said, "Hey, Molly, is that good?" And she said, "Yeah, I really like it." And she probably ate half of what was in there. And I said, as we're eating, I kept kind of poking a little bit. And I was like, "Hey, Molly, would you still like this if it was rabbit?" And she said, I don't know. I said, what if I told you it was rabbit? And she said, you're funny, Daddy. And then when we polished this leftovers container, I said, hey, Molly, that was rabbit. And her eyes got even bigger than they already are. She said, really? That was so good.
I
said,
rabbit.
yeah, I've been trying to tell you. And then we did a flip where it was probably 4 years before she would eat chicken again.
Oh yeah.
Refused.
Right at that moment, she loved rabbit and hated chicken. And all of them still are just like, this is chicken, it's not that great.
She made a comment last time you made chicken, and was like, this is pretty good.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
She said, I like chicken too.
I like chicken too. Oh, goodness. So they're pretty adventurous with the meat that they'll eat. We go out to the buffet and they'll be trying octopus and mussels and all kinds of things.
Yeah, Addison tried sea urchin.
Yeah, so they are pretty adventurous. It might be because they try things here that are kind of obscure. But, we've got friends who are Amish. Some of their closest friends are Amish. They eat rabbit, they eat goat. So it's really not unusual in our friend group. So, and in this area in general, because our neighbor eats rabbit too.
Yep.
Lots of people in the South do. People tell me all the time in the comments that nobody eats rabbit anymore.
Yeah, except for like 70% of the world. Okay. Your goat butter is white and cow butter is yellow. Why is that?
So I might get this a little bit mixed up because I meant to reconfirm what I know before we came on. But it has to do with the way that each animal processes beta carotene, which is vitamin A. And I think the way it works is that goats produce their own beta carotene. And so they produce what they need and they don't have excess to then put out into their milk. Cows, on the other hand, don't produce their own, and whatever is excess comes out in their bodily fluids to include their milk, and that is what the yellow coloring is. So even though goats eat a ton of grass, I don't know why that doesn't come out yellow. I have no clue. It's just the different way that they process beta carotene. Some people will add the cheese coloring annatto to their butter to make it a little bit yellow. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, it's not that cow's butter is better. I mean, it might have more beta carotene in it, so I guess in that way it could be. Vitamin A is good for you. You can get toxic on it as long as you don't eat tons of liver.
That was another one relating to the last question, though. When both girls were staying the night at my mom's and got up for breakfast, and my mom gave them a glass of cow's milk.
Oh, yeah.
And toast with cow's butter on it. And apparently they looked at her and said, we don't really like cow milk and cow butter. Do you have goat's milk and goat's butter?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's the store milk and the store butter.
Hers, it might have been store.
It might have been from the store. They do go to the Amish.
You get raw milk.
Raw milk, and they have a jersey, so it could have been that too. The butter probably wasn't. I don't know.
The butter.
Yeah, she buys the roll butter.
Does she?
Yeah. So I don't know. I was gonna say, but when they've if we've gone to Chick-fil-A or whatever, they're like, I want to try the milk. They don't like it.
Every single time they finish half of it, I'm like, this tastes like water.
Tastes like nothing. Yeah, I agree. We've had different food other places, and while we're out, and there is a difference in flavor. The goat's milk products have more flavor. People ask me, is it goaty? Not to me. But even before we had the farm and we had our own dairy goats, we were eating goat's milk products. I bought Meyenberg goat's milk. We lived next to a grocery store, not next to, but real close to, a grocery store called Natural Grocers. And they had a ton of different goat's milk products, and I bought all of them. They had goat's milk yogurt, different types of cheeses, like not just soft cheese, they had cheddars and things. I bought all of it. And so that's just what we've been used to for so long. I don't know. I don't know if it tastes goaty.
What is one homesteading belief both you and Levi had when you first decided to start this new chapter that you now think differently about, and why?
Yeah, one thing we think differently about. I voiced this earlier because I wasn't exactly sure what the question was asking. And one of our daughters was like, I think that they mean like you used to keep the horns on your goats and now you don't. And what else did she say?
And you used to think the rabbits had to be on the ground, but
and now you don't. Yeah, it's like what I'm assuming that she's right, that's what this question means. What are these things that you thought were true that didn't end up being true for you? And both of those are really good examples. We did used to keep horns on our goats because horns really are That's how they're designed. That's their air conditioning system. That's their defense system. I really like the look of horns. The problem with them is our babies always got stuck in fences. They still get stuck in fences without the horns. Especially the mini La Manchas with their little ears. There's just enough cartilage in there for them to act like a little horn. And they can get their head through, and then they could back out easily because cartilage bends. It's not like horn, really. They overthink it and they get stuck. But anyways, they would get real stuck with their horns. And then the last goat that I had with horns, she would use them in a very serious way. And she was a Nige, and I had standards. And so her horns were perfect udder height, and we were having problems. And so that was Barely. Barely isn't here anymore. And I just got to thinking, like, it's a real shame to leave horns on a very nice goat and have to cull them due to their attitude because they're using their horns as a weapon, which is really what they are. But it's a safety hazard when it comes down to it. Not all goats will use their horns like that, but like, let's say Frenzy had horns and she's amazing, but she was being a jerk to other goats, like goats are sometimes. They can do some serious damage, and it's a shame when that like doesn't have to happen. So for us, that is one thing that's changed. I don't even leave horns on my meat goats anymore because the meat goats are getting stuck in the fences and all that. And disbudding the meat goats gives me extra practice for disbudding animals that we sell and things, and so that's nice. The disbudded goats are also easier to sell. I did keep horns on Rodeo this year because his family asked me to. I'm fine with that. Her whole herd has horns, and she didn't want to add a hornless goat in. I don't blame her for that. He would probably get real beat up. So anyways, it's not bad. Horns are not bad, but that's one thing that we changed. And yes, we used to keep rabbits on the ground. I do still have one of, like, we just put a little bunny out on the ground, but his hutch has 2 levels. So he can get up off the ground if he needs. And we can also, if it gets real bad with our mud season isn't here yet, but it's coming. We can put him up on blocks with wire underneath. Yeah. And that will be okay. But yeah, we grow our rabbits over the cooler months. And so that's also our mud season. So keeping rabbits outside on the ground in the mud, it wasn't working. We had some torrential downpours before where the water line, if I can find the nest box that has the water line on it still, because I still have a wooden nest box, it was like this, and there was kits. They were okay, but it was awful. So we would have to go out and put these rabbits up on blocks, and it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't good for the rabbits. It wasn't good for us. And so the fact is, there just is not a one-size-fits-all with literally anything. You can have your ideals and what you wish could happen, but then being able to adapt is really important. Yeah. So we are at the end of the Q&A, and those of you that have been here a while know what that means, and I have a very cool giveaway this time. We have never done a run of bowls. These are the Sage and Stone bowls that I have in my possession right now. There are 20. I ordered 24. This is one of them. This is mine. And so I'll probably be listing around 20 bowls when I have my website drop at the end of the month. I don't have a specific date. I would like to wait until I have 10 hats done, basically, before I put it up. So by the end of the month, these bowls will be listed, but you guys in this Q&A get a chance to win one of these. One of y'all will get a chance to win. So in order to enter to win, let me know your favorite animal. Pretty simple, whether it be just an animal in general or your favorite animal on our farm. I thought that would be pretty cool too, to hear what everyone's favorite animal is on our farm if you have one. And in a week's time, so it's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, it kind of depends on my schedule. I think it'll work out for Tuesday next week. I will go live and we will pick the winner from the comments below. You have to comment your favorite animal. That's the only comment that's going to count as an entry, and it doesn't matter if you're in the US or anywhere else in the world. I have filled out many a customs form, and I can get this to you if you win. These are gorgeous. I really like the blue. Can you see it? Oh, they're so neat. We use these for oatmeal. We use these for ice cream. I think this is a fine size for ice cream. Yeah. Okay. This was called the triple scoop, and when we first got this one, looks bigger than the other one that we have, though.
It does, but it might just be the color.
Yeah, the other one that we have is triple colored, but we've also used it. I've used it for cereal, goodness, yogurt, any kind of thing. I know we've been putting our tea bags in it this evening. So yeah, this one's mine, but I just wanted to show you. this is the prize. So comment your favorite animal. Anywho, that's that. You and me, we're gonna go flip the cheese. Levi's probably gonna go lay down in bed, right?
Probably.
All right, so fun little bonus at the end of the Q&A here, which we don't normally do stuff like this, but I gotta do it, so I figured I'd bring you along anyway. This is the first cheese of the year, first hard cheese. And usually when we're in our winter milk season, I do not make hard cheeses because I usually don't have enough milk in order to do so, but we do. And so that's great. This here is a stirred curd cheddar, and it's the first time that I have used this square mold. Levi had to finagle kind of a modification to my drip tray down here for it to work well, but oh, it's time for the final flip. Look at it. Oh my goodness. It's amazing. It should be around 4 pounds, maybe even a little bit more by the time that it's done. So the little flecks that you see in the cheese, if you see them, that's from the salt. I use the Redmond's real salt. It's got those extra minerals, but isn't that beautiful? It's already starting to knit really well on the side. You can see just a few little spaces where the curd needs to knit a little bit closer, and that's gonna be what this cheese does overnight. There's a little hair in it. It's okay, it's farm fresh, right? Those things do happen. All right. So it's beautiful. It's our first square cheese. Gonna wrap her up. Slide it back in. Kind of pull down on the cheesecloth to tighten things up. You don't want any of the wrinkles setting into the cheese to like make a false crack. That's where molds and things can grow. I want it as smooth as possible. Cover it up. Put our follower on. This here's a cutting board. It's part of the modified way that we're pressing this down. This press is really cool. I got it from the New England Cheese Making Company. It doesn't have an actual weight, goodness, but it has a spring system with a little gauge on the front that shows me how many pounds of pressure are being exerted down on the cheese. It's pretty cool. Just want to center that a little bit better. Make sure we're getting an even pressure. Make sure I'm not gonna spill away all over the counter overnight. And then we need 50 pounds of pressure overnight, so I'll just push it. There we go. There we go. Can you see that there? 50 pounds of pressure. It's lining up with the top of the board there, and it's gonna hold that overnight. So yeah, that's that. I have a little bit of this cheese process as well as us harvesting the Jerusalem artichokes and eating them, and I'm sure much more, but I can't tell the future in this coming Friday video, our end of the week farm vlog. So if you are not subscribed yet, please do subscribe. It's a good time. I'll see you guys again soon.